Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to a very special episode of the show. We've got a great guest today, none other than lead vocalist and founding member of Cirith Ungol, Mr. Tim Baker. What's going on, Tim?
How you doing? I'm actually not a founding member. You know that, though.
Well, you're as good as founding
I know.
member.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I was on the first record, so that kind of counts. Yeah, I know what you
Yeah.
mean. Yeah.
Well,
Hey,
that's the
Howard.
thing. I mean, the
I'm.
band has
Yeah,
been
yeah,
around for so long. I mean, it's like I
yeah. I
think
know.
people tend to forget that the existence of the band was like, what, 10 years before that first album came out.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we were around back in the time. I mean, we were settling up dinosaurs and stuff, man. So okay.
So where
Yeah.
you
Hey, how's
calling?
everybody doing out there? Pete,
Oh,
how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing
Hey,
good.
good. That's good. Good to hear
Trying
it.
to enjoy the weekend. And where are you calling? Where are you from today? Where are you calling from today?
Hometown of Ventura, California.
Nice, cool.
What about you?
The Hudson Valley in New York.
Oh, very nice. My one of my daughters might be moving there pretty soon.
Ah, very cool. I've lived here a good
So,
chunk of my life. I'm originally a city kid, but moved up here in 1971 and never looked back.
yeah, good for you.
Yeah. So the reason we got Tim on the show, other than the fact that I've been wanting to get either him or Robert on the show for a long time. I talk to Robert all the time via email and text and whatnot. You guys have a brand new album coming out in just a couple of weeks, October 20th. As a matter of fact, it's called Dark Parade on Metal Blade Records. Your sixth studio album. So let's backtrack a little bit. So his sixth album, we just talked about how the band has been in existence in one form or another for just over 50 years. It's a long time, a lot of stops and starts, right? I mean, how do you guys keep it going through decade after decade and just you guys are back stronger than ever lately?
Well, it helps when you take a 25-year break.
Yeah, that is true.
You know that's everyone. Oh, what were you doing? It's kind of like just it's kind of like being back in the saddle again. So it's been a good. I mean, what it's been? Geez, 6 years at least since we've been back together. It seems like just yesterday, but yeah, it's all been good, and it was it's great. So yeah, no, we're doing good, and cool. We're moving forward.
That's all you can do, right? So yeah, I mean, so six albums now, and Dark Parade follows Forever Black, which came out in 2020. So that's it. We're kind of going back to the output of the early 80s, right? Where you guys kind of one after another. So I mean, so you just mentioned the 25-year gap there, right? So after the long period of inactivity, how does it feel for you and the band now in more recent times to be able to crank out these albums fairly quickly after each other and get back into the game once again? I'm sure the fans are totally psyched for it. So how do you guys feel about that?
Well, you say for us that's fairly quickly. Yes, like a couple of years in between things. But like I said, I think the first thing we did was we got back. We did the Witch's Game single, which was for the movie that's actually still being worked on. So hopefully that's going to be happening soon. And we did we did Forever Black, and then the pandemic hit,
Yeah.
which screwed everything for a good solid 2 years. So in the meantime, we thought, well, let's, we have the time. Nobody knew how long that was going to take. That, I mean, you could have been a year, could have been 10 years. Who knows what that was going to happen? The zombie apocalypse or whatever. So, we did the EP, which we actually decided, let's drag up some of the good old stuff that we never recorded properly and do a good release on that. So we did the EP. And in the meantime, we go, well, we have the time, we have the studio, we have the people. So we started working on Dark Parade, and it's not like we just pounded it out. It took a year and a half, 2 years to do it, and do all the demos, writing them, recording them, changing stuff, going back or do more demos and everything. So back in the day, it was years in between one, but that's just really because of record companies and personnel and things like that. So I'm glad to say that we were able to do this, and just like you said, it does seem like a short span of time. We did the Witches Game, we did a live album, we did Forever Black, we did the EP, we've done Dark Parade. So it is quite a bit of output for us, and we're happy about that, and we're more than pleased with the way this album turned out. So it's a step in the right direction for us, and it's moving forward, and hope everybody likes it.
Yeah, I mean, so Forever Black was very well received, I think, by the critics and the fans alike. I mean, myself personally, I thought it was a great return to form, as if you guys were never away for all those years. It just brought me back to when I first bought your second album, like all those years ago, because that was the first album I actually ever heard from you. So is there seems to be a lot of buzz about the new album as a follow-up to a really good album. You guys hearing that as well, even though most people haven't heard the album yet? Maybe heard a song or two, because I think that you guys pre-released 2 songs so far. So are you hearing lots of buzz from the fan base already?
Yeah, it's being received well, just like kind of Forever Black. It's funny because when Forever Black came out, we'd already done Witch's Game, so it kind of gave people an idea that we still kind of knew what to do, and Forever Black came out, and a lot of people were shocked. It's like, oh, it's like they never lost a beat, but it's funny because people have mentioned, oh, gee, how can you come back and sound like you still do and sound better and everything. It's well, we're gonna sound like us no matter what. It's like people say, well, it'd be like asking like somebody like the Beatles or somebody, oh, if they got back together, they'd sound like the friggin' Beatles. You know what I mean? So I mean, there's no reason why we wouldn't sound like Cirith Ungol, because it's the same guys, the same influences, the same musical tastes, and the same history and everything. So that's why the albums sound like that, and that's why it's kind of a natural progression of Forever Black. I think it's a little bit more consistent. It's a little bit darker, I think, and I'm really pleased with the finished product. So I hope everybody else.
I've had a chance to hear the whole album, and I'm really impressed with the production, which I think is a little crisper than the previous album, which sounded great too. I mean, the guitars sound enormous on this album. The riffs from Jimmy and Greg are terrific. The soloing is great. You've never sounded better. I mean, do you feel like maybe you guys kind of grasp what you're all a little bit about, even more so with the production of this one? It just sounds larger than life to my ears.
Well, I think part of it is like I said, when we've been back together now for 5 or 6 years, and we've been playing and doing other albums and stuff. So it's we kind of got the chops back a little bit better than we did, even just doing Forever Black and the EP. So I mean, I know what you're saying. The album, the things that we've done since we've been back, they all kind of sound similar, but I think you're right about the production wise. You kind of got in there and kind of simplified things, and not tried to mess around too much and make things too complicated, and just get the basic sound like like we're supposed to sound like, and just go from there. So that's why it sounds like that, and I'm glad people like it, and I think it does sound a little bit better. And we don't want, it's not going to ever sound too modern, I guess what people say, because we're not going to write songs like that. I mean, that's just not what we sound like. So I'm glad people like it, and I'm glad that people like the way it sounds and the production and stuff. So glad to hear it.
Yeah, I think people are really going to like what they hear. I mean, you get those classic metal vibes. To my ears, there's a little nod to the new wave of British heavy metal going on there. There's a little bits of doom here and there. You guys always kind of hinted at that, but never went full into that. I mean, like Sailor on the Seas of Fate is terrific. Sacrifice, the title track. I think you guys have mixed a lot of different metal styles on here, which is really, really cool. There's some really epic sounding stuff. There's some full on bangers, like a little faster paced stuff. So, like Velicity, Relentless, Distant Shadows, those are kind of like more in your face, faster paced stuff. I think people are really going to like the intensity of some of these songs. And again, the riffs and the solos are great. And Robert's drumming is spot on throughout the whole album.
Yeah, I listened to it. I've listened to it numerous times, and I think that's one of the standout things is the drumming is really good on that. He's kind of go like, wow, it's the drumming. He's got a unique style, and he is who he is. And I think the drumming on this is like really superior to anything he's probably done, and it sounds really good, and everything he's doing on there is like really cool. Yeah, it was a good group effort, and I'm happy with the way it came out. So and thanks for the kind words, and I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, and I do want to mention Down Below, which is the last song on the album. Love it. I love the introduction of like the acoustic guitars at the beginning. Some of the kind of harmony electric guitar stuff is just epic sounding. Your vocals are like just dripping with menace. I mean, it's just typical Tim Baker, right? I mean, it's so good. There's almost like a dark, heavy kind of like 70s prog rock feel to this song. And I know you guys, like, especially on the earlier albums, I mean, you guys were always into that stuff anyway. So, and anything specifically you could talk about with the creation of Down Below and kind of the way it came out? I think it's a really different song on the album, and it really stands out as like maybe the high watermark achievement for me on the album, even though the whole album is really good.
No, thanks. We, we kind of wanted to make the whole album like that, more just get away from doing anything too cute, too we just wanted to just get in there and just lay it down as heavy and as, like you said, menacing and sinister and just dark and bleak as we could do it. Because I mean, that's the way things are in the world today, in some people's worldview. So we just kind of wanted to do that, and I'm glad you like that song, because we took a lot of time to do that, and it's got the unearthly like intro, the choir there going and everything, which is actually my daughter's and some of the and me and some of our other friends and stuff. So it came out really well, and yeah, I think I like that song. It's really good, and I'm sure that's a lot of people will probably gravitate towards that too. So yeah, I mean, they're all, like you said, there's a lot of elements in here. There's a lot of different styles kind of going on, and a lot of things that we do. But we've kind of always been that way. We're not like a we don't like to just do like, we're not a thrash band. We're not a straight up doom band. We're not, I mean, we just kind of do what we do. We don't even think about what it is. I mean, we don't think about, oh, let's do a song like that's got Middle Eastern kind of feel to it, or a Latin America thing. I kind of like Sacrifice has got a little bit of that kind of going on, or a doom thing. I mean, we just kind of do what we do, and how it comes out is how it comes out, and hopefully people like it, and we can kind of capture what we're really intending to do. So I'm glad it came out the way it did, and I'm glad that hopefully people will appreciate that.
So I remember, if I go back in my time machine back to like the 40 years ago, the first time hearing the Cirith Ungol album, I remember thinking, wow, that singer's unique. I mean, that's always one of the things that set you guys apart, because your vocal style doesn't sound like anybody else, right? It's so Tim Baker, it's so Cirith Ungol. I mean, you probably got all sorts of feedback from people over the years about your singing style. Care to talk about that?
Oh, it's always been a plus and a minus for the band. I mean, back when we first started, it was just, people could not stand it. I mean, it was like, there was just so much negative stuff about it. And but I don't care. I mean, I all I can do is what I do. And my vocal, it's changed a lot since back in the day. I mean, I don't listen to the old albums. I can't. Personally, I can't do that, because to me, it's just, anyway, I would explain it at some later date. I can't listen to it, but I mean, there was a lot of like, hit and miss with a lot of that stuff back in the day, and I think as a band we certainly have matured, and I have too, as far as like kind of knowing what I want to do, and being able to do it vocally. Back then we were just screaming at people, man. Like it's like this that was part of the style or whatever. But yeah, it's always been hit or miss with people liking it or hating it. But that's good. That goes with a lot of people. I mean, bands like Rush or anybody, anybody like that's extreme, and But nowadays, I mean, like I said, back when those albums were out, people looked at that like, oh, this is too extreme for like to even listen to and stuff. And
it's really tame by today's standards, right? Yeah.
But by today's standards, it sounds like the Monkees or something, man. You know what I mean? I mean, there's such stuff that it's just, it's extreme. There's like even genres of extremity. So it's not like it was back then. So it's not quite as harsh and like weird sounding as it used to be for people. But I know what you're getting at, and we've always heard that back and forth. So it's cool. I dig it.
So in addition to your unique vocal style and the band's unique take on metal, one of the things also that Cirith Ungol are always known for is album covers, and the new cover, no exception, right? People love the album covers. It's part of being a metal fan and buying physical product. And anything you wanted, for those who haven't seen the album cover, you want to describe kind of where the band takes you on this particular one?
Well, they've always been by the same artist, Michael Whalen, and they're from the series of the Elric books, which people always said like, why is there Elric on the covers when your band is named after something from Lord of the Rings? So I mean, hey, they had the name when I met them, so I mean, I had nothing to do with that. But yeah, it's like I said, that's another thing that's always kind of been a plus or a minus. But people look at the artwork and the album covers, and they just assume that we're like a sword and sorcery band or something, but we're really not. There might be, one song that has anything to do with any of that on each one of the albums. Earlier maybe there was a couple on them, but I mean, it's not really what we're about. But I mean, you can get that mistake by looking at the album covers, and it's really actually helped us quite a bit because he's such a fantastic artist, and the album covers are just so great. And if you see something like that, and if you're a metal fan, you're going to want to listen to it, I think. And that was the idea behind actually using those and getting a hold of him. And we've been good friends for 40, 50 years now with him. So we're glad to have him in our camp. And we're glad to have his album covers too, because they've really helped us out over the years, as far as the iconography and the, T-shirts and the posters and everything. So it's all good. And hopefully it lets people know, hey, this is something I might want to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought the artwork kind of conveyed a certain sense of artfulness of your music, right? Because to me, Cirith Ungol's music always had that aspect, and it's always very epic sounding. So to me, it was like a marriage made in heaven. You see these great, fantastic looking album covers, and you listen to the music, you're like, oh, it's definitely metal, but they're doing something a little different here. It's there's a lot of work that went behind the music here. It's not just, like you said, it's not thrash, it's not power metal. It's just something very unique, and I think that married very well with the artwork always. To this day.
Yeah, like I said, it's great that we've always had that, because it does make people, it does pique people's interest in what's inside the grooves there once they see the album covers. I mean, you never know what you're going to get. I mean, but it does help, people. It's like picking up. I remember back in the day when we first saw the first Molly Hatchet album cover with Frank Frenzetti, you're kind of going like, oh, this is going to sound like Manowar or something, you know what I mean? Then you're flicking on, it's like, so it was really an oddball thing. That was an oddball choice to me, but I mean, good for them to be able to get that done. But for us, it's always been about the artwork and the the iconography and the whole package together. So it's been great over the years with Michael.
So let's switch gears a little bit. So you have a new album to promote. It's coming out. I'm assuming you guys are going to go out and do some live dates. I know you guys were here in New York not too long ago, right? I think you played in New York.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's on tap for live shows? And I know it's a little early for festival season, but that'll be here before you know it, next spring and summer, right? So
yeah, well, we kind of didn't have anything too much going on this year, because we were finishing up the album, getting all that going, everything like that. So yeah, we're hoping we're really going to push into 2024 and do a lot more festivals, a lot more gigs, and visit some places that we haven't been to before, which is always good. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. We're doing some bookings now as we speak. So it's kind of the season right now to get things going for next year. I mean, everybody books things a year and a half in advance. So we have a lot of things on the table right now, and as soon as they come, as soon as they're solidified, we will announce them. So we're hoping to do a lot more stuff in the coming year. So hopefully we'll be out in that neck of the woods, and you can actually come see us sometime. Yeah, we were in New York. I think it was last month or something at LPR. I think it was in Manhattan. So
yep, yeah, Did you guys get a chance to test out any of the new tracks live? I didn't look at the set.
We played the opening track. Yeah, we played Velocity. Yes, and we've done that the last two shows that we played. Just as an opening song, just to spray it on people, because nobody knew what was going to happen. So we just did it. Oh, what's that? So yeah, it was always that's the only one we've done so far. So okay. Yeah.
Well, it's got to be interesting for a band like yourselves who haven't have been around a long time but don't have a ton of albums. So I'm assuming picking out like a set list for a tour is probably interesting, right? Because you have to play like some of those old classics, but you want to squeeze in some stuff from the last couple albums, right? So is that do you all kind of do that together? Or is there one person?
Man, that's one of the toughest things that you have to do, because especially when you're playing somewhere like we did some festivals last year, like some of the big ones in Europe. And we played like the big stage at Wacken and things like that, where you're doing 45 minutes. So it's like, well, there's at least five or four, five, six songs from back in the day that we have to do.
Yeah.
And there's like, some of the newer stuff that we kind of have to do if we we're promoting a new album and we want to like move forward. So yeah, you know what? You're right about that. It's really tough to pick out a set list that everybody agrees on and that we think that the fans want to hear. I mean, we always want to play all the new stuff because we think, but then again, I mean, I'm sure you've been to a million concerts and like the band starts playing the new stuff and everybody like going, I don't want to hear. I want to hear what, whatever. Don't Fear the Reaper or whatever.
I hear what I want to hear. I want to hear the song that I heard a million times before.
Yeah. So I mean, it's always a fun exercise to try to come up with a set list, depending on if it's 45 minutes or like, an hour and a half, something like that. I mean, it's not that hard to get everything in. So, it depends on where you're playing and how long you have to play. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's getting tougher too when you put out another album. It's like, oh crap, we got to like, there's more stuff that we got to like pick and choose from. So
right, because you probably want to squeeze 2 or 3 of those in at least, right? Hopefully.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. And then yeah, like I said, it's tougher all the time. It's like it's almost like taking all the ones and putting them in a hat and just picking them out, or whatever. So,
are there any like couple of the old favorites that you still really enjoy playing live? I'm sure some you're probably like, oh, I'm ready to push that out of the set list. But I know a lot of bands when I talk to, they're always like, they always have like at least 1 or 2 of the old classics that they still kind of get jacked for every night when they play.
Oh, we've come and gone with a lot of the things from the past in our set list. I mean, if you look at the set list from when we first got back together, there's a few things that we've dropped that we don't play anymore. Stuff that's kind of like they didn't really work that well, or we didn't really play them that well, or whatever. Or we've got new stuff we kind of replace them with and things like that. So, but I mean, anything that we put on a set list, I mean, we're happy to play them, because most of the time when we're playing them, it's a lot of people's first time seeing us.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not really our choice that whether to feel good or bad about them. I mean, we got to make them as good as we can, because a lot of people, I mean, we're doing this for for us and for the people coming to see us. I mean, so we try to do the best cross section of old and new, and try to do them as best as we can, and do the ones that we know that we can really please the crowd with, and hopefully they'll like the set list. So that's really what the thought process that goes in with picking and choosing. So
gotcha. Cool. So yeah, of all this time out on the road and playing the festivals and stuff, I'm sure you guys are friendly with a lot of the other bands that are out there. Are there any kind of like maybe bands that you've come across and maybe shared the stage with in recent years that you like watched and like, oh, these guys are really good, that maybe you want to give a little recommendation to some of our viewers? Are there other bands out there you kind of like?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, we played with Candlemass a few times, and those are good guys. Everybody knows them already, though. You know what I mean? I mean, if you know who we are, you know who they are. I'm sure you've heard them, So I mean, but there's a lot of bands that we've been on with other festivals and things that we played with. So as far as personal recommendation, we're good friends with a lot of bands. Like Smolder's a really good band, friends of ours, and they just put out a new album, so I would check that out. Of course, Night Demon, they have an album that just came out recently. And a lot of bands like that we played with at different festivals and things, and there's a lot of them too many of them to mention, and it's great really, because you don't meet too many bad people at heavy metal festivals. You know what I mean? It's the people, and not just the people that are attending the things, the bands, everybody's usually good people. So I mean, it's it was always funny, like back in the day when it first became really popular, like metal back in the 80s, and it was like, oh, it was going to destroy America and all this kind of crap, and everybody thought it was a bunch of barbarians and doing all kinds of like hideous, like uh, animal sacrifices and whatever the hell. And it's like, nobody had any idea. Like, it's like a big family, and everybody, everybody's there just for the music and just to have fun and not cause problems. And, you see other genres of music, and there's problems at the festivals, and there's riots, and there's fights and crowd. I've never seen that at any of the festivals we've ever played in, or at all. And it's amazing to me, and it's really cool. And like I said, it's like a big metal family around the world, and we're really happy to be part of it.
Yeah, I think heavy metal gets a bad rap and always has. And granted, there
Oh
have
yeah.
been these isolated incidences and things over the years, but
Oh yeah.
I've been going to shows for over 40 years, and I think I could probably count on my hands the number of times something kind of nuts happened at a show that was maybe the fault of things that we were just talking about. So yeah, it's
Oh
a
yeah,
great
yeah.
community, and it's all about the music, right? For the most part. That's
Yeah, I mean, there have been, isolated incidents about very bad things. I don't want to mention what they are, but you know what they are. They in the history of metal, like some bad things have gone on. But it's very isolated incidents, and for the most part, those things don't happen in metal festivals. So
yeah.
it's always cool, and it's hey, we've always had a great time, and hopefully that the fans that go to all these things, I mean, they always seem to be having a great time too. So
Yeah, for sure. So Dark Parade comes out October 20th. So in just a couple of weeks on Metal Blade Records. So make sure you go out and check it out. I can tell you all watching, I've heard it. It's really, really, really good. If you like the last album, Forever Black, you're going to love this one. Tim, where do you want to see Cirith Ungol 5 years from today?
I want to see us like back right here on Sea of Tranquility, maybe promoting another album and saying, hey, we're going to be doing a giant tour all over the place. So hopefully we can make that happen. And to all the everybody watching your broadcast here, I just want to say, thanks for your support. Thanks for supporting Sea of Tranquility, of course. And get out there and support the bands that you love. And don't just go, oh, I'll see them next time, or oh, they're playing like it's an hour drive. I mean, a lot of the bands that we know and love, they're all getting older, just like us, man, and it's not going to last that much longer. So if you get a chance to see your favorite bands or even new bands, go see them, support the bands themselves, not the bootleggers and not the outside people. To go on the band's website, Bandcamp, and places like that, and support your support what you love, and we'll see you out there on the road.
Totally agree, 100%. Thanks for watching, everybody. And thanks to Tim for joining us. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Dark Parade, October 20th, Metal Blade Records. For Tim Baker, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.
Thanks, Pete.